Hello YouTube. Time's been kind of rough on me lately. I've been having a few health issues and working hard and been tired. Anyway, nice gentleman on YouTube sent me a video response to my big car in reverse video. I think that's the name of it, big car in reverse. It's the video big car with the music in reverse. Anyway, at that time when I posted it, I figured out how to reverse the sound but not the video. Now I know how to do both, so thinking of making a new big car in reverse where the video actually matches the sound and both are in reverse. So anyway, that may happen, may not happen. Who can tell? Anyway, this nice young man, icemichaelbaker on YouTube, that I'm going to post a link for so you can find him a little easier. But the way his YouTube ID is, at least on this channel that he posted a reply to my video, his YouTube ID is all one word, all lowercase, spelled ice, I-C-E, Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, Baker, B-A-K-E-R, icemichaelbaker. Like I say, real nice guy. Definitely check him out. He's inspired me enough to fire up the video camcorder and just rant and randomly wander for a moment or two and answer his questions. He was talking about how he's watched a lot of my videos and likes my guitar and keyboards and that kind of stuff, and I really appreciate that, Michael. You're saying that means a lot to me. I consider myself almost more of an artist than a musician, and Lord knows a lot of musicians will say, yeah, well, he's not exactly a well-trained musician. I'm not. I've not even been to school very much for it, or mostly what all I'd learned was playing with others and playing by myself on the instruments or composing things as I go along, improvising a lot. And so for that reason, I consider a lot of what I'm doing is experimentation and a creative pursuit. By that means, I think maybe I have some creativity that I demonstrate, that I display in my playing. I hope that comes through, and I've been told I'm very expressive, or can be, at some of my pieces, so maybe that's part of the art too. And I'm not downplaying that I do consider it music. A lot of what I do doesn't sound exactly like music. You almost have to train your ear to hear it. But just because it's new and unique, it doesn't make it not music. And it depends on how you want to define music. It might not make it music, and you might not agree with me, or agree with me that it has some artistic sensibilities, creativity to it, but that's kind of the angle that I'm coming at it from. And he actually asked how long I've been playing. For the guitar, I've been playing probably since about 72. I believe it may have even been a year before that, when I would have been just entering senior high, probably a freshman or sophomore in senior high. I got a acoustic classical style guitar. I still play it. You've probably seen it in a couple of videos. I still got it. And that's what I learned on. Most of my musicality comes from that early time in high school, playing with friends and whatnot, learning Beatles songs. That was one of the big things that I enjoyed. The other part of the question was about keyboard. Probably didn't have a chance to play with the keyboard much until I was well into maybe my 20s, which would have been the 80s. and I really like keyboard. It makes sense to me. With the guitar, on your different strings, they're tuned differently. So like you got your E and your A and your G and your D and your B and your E strings going down. I left one out somewhere there. Along the guitar, and so you have to learn specific fretting to play specific chords on the guitar to be able to replicate music. If you're trying to play a song, you kind of have to learn how to fret the right chord to play along with that song, even if you don't get into learning leads. And learning leads is another whole learning curve, which I don't really do very well either. But there you're actually learning about keys and how to stay in a certain key, not play a sour note. A lot of times if you hear people who don't play very well, you'll hear them play a sour note on guitar, on keyboard, on anything. And I play a lot of sour notes mainly because I kind of don't care, or I feel like maybe that's, interesting too, or it can be. A lot of times it's by accident, but I don't mind it as much as I used to if I'm able to kind of work it into whatever I'm doing. And a lot of times I've found if you repeat the note, then it doesn't become such a sour note, or it's not such an accident. All of a sudden now it's part of the theme, or it suddenly makes more sense because there's repetition, and that repetition sort of reinforces it. So that's kind of my philosophy on how to learn to play guitar, at least halfway, or to make it work for you even if you don't know how to play it very well. Well, when I went to the keyboard or started playing the keyboard now and then, it made more sense to me. It's all laid out, all in order, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you got your sharps or flats in between. If you know the order of notes, then the keyboard already has those notes laid out in the right order. As long as you know what note you're supposed to play, you can find it, and you can play it down here low or go up an octave, and play it up here or go up another octave, play it, so forth. But it's all there in order, and so even if you can just hum, you can kind of go right on up the notes of the keyboard, and thus if you want to play then you can kind of go so you can figure it out because it's just laid out there. And a guitar, along a guitar string, is the same way, the way it's fretted on one string. But when you're playing all 6 strings, what are you going to fret on the other 5 strings? So that's something to be considering with the guitar, whether you want to mute them or just play the one string or whatever. But it's a little more complicated. With the keyboard, it's all laid out there, and so I kind of took to that pretty quickly for making the kind of music that I like to make, which again is more almost experimental or improvisational than it is purposefully, previously premeditated, decided and designed, and within a certain key and within certain kinds of musical rules, which I probably would be a better musician if I followed those musical rules. But by not following them too precisely, I feel like I'm maybe a better artist. I discover strange harmonics and disharmonics and things happening that a regular trained musician would not be as likely to discover, because he's only going to play it the right way. He's not going to, or that's the only way he's going to try to play it. Now, he may still make the same mistakes, but to him, those mistakes don't count. Those mistakes are just, okay, we'll forget that, and we'll play it again, we'll play it better and not make that mistake. And that's good too. That's I'm not talking that down. That's a perfectly good discipline to have and a good way to go about making music. But in my case, I like to kind of make it different anyway. I'm looking for that difference. I'm looking for playing it in a creative way that it is not the same way everybody else on YouTube plays it. If you go and look for any guitar lead riff from Jimmy Page or Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, or Metallica, their guys, Kurt Hammond, or whoever, Dave Mustaine, or Yngwie Malmsteen, or what's his name, Nino Betancourt, or whoever the guitar, Al Di Meola, Robert Johnson, whoever you want to name as a guitarist, how they're playing it, you can find at least probably a dozen YouTube videos of people who are trying to play it just like that guy played it. And it's great. I mean, the canon rock is one of the most fun ones to look up. If you get a chance, look up Pachelbel's canon and look for the version that's generally called canon rock. I'm not sure that Yngwie Malmsteen may have been one of the guys that created the guitar version first, but there are probably 100 videos, maybe more, on YouTube of people playing that one piece. And some do it a little better than others, some don't do it too well, some of them do it great, some of them do it much better than I could ever do if I sat and practiced it every day for a year. They do it so well, and they do a lot of things well that way. Well, and that's great. That's nothing wrong with that. That's a superb thing to be doing. And I applaud those that do that well. I'm not one of those people that has been able to, over my 50-something years of being alive, my probably at least about 35 to 40-some years of playing, have been able to teach myself to do that very well. And I know a lot of it just takes practice, but I got these short, stubby fingers, and I don't practice that much. I have to make a living. You know, everybody makes a living. But whatever excuse, I guess maybe I was always looking for something new and not so much looking to repeat the same thing over 1,000 times until I got it right. And that's the difference in someone who's really disciplined in music, and I have no problem against that, but in someone who's really disciplined and looking for something else or something new. You know, there's two different disciplines there, and I think, you know, neither one's bad or worse than the other, or better than the other. I just happen not to be one so disciplined about playing a particular thing over and over again, but I'm pretty disciplined about recognizing when something interesting is happening that maybe is a little new, or at least new to me. That was a real long answer, Michael. I hope that did help you out a little bit, understand me. You also asked what some of my musical influences are. I've already named a couple of them. Certainly Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix. As far as rock is concerned, I really do like that as a genre of music. I like progressive rock. I like blues. Who's the guy? There's a bunch of really well-known blues guys. Hey, I'm having a Perry moment. What's the presidential candidate? See, I can't remember his name. But I also like folk music. I like world music. I like Brazilian rhythms, Latin rhythms, African music. I like Mideastern music. I like Indian, as in Indian music. I like some of the more folk European styles of music. Not a whole lot of music I don't like. I do have to say I don't have as much of a fondness for some of the loud, grating, thrash, heavy metal, devil metal, demon metal, or that's not, death metal, gore metal, all this hatred and kind of music. I'm sorry, I just don't get a lot out of that. And I know it's a whole genre for a lot of people. A lot of my music borderlines it because my music can be harsh. It's almost more noise at times, and I can understand a sensibility about that. There's something kind of new about that, or new to accept that as music. But a lot of the thrash metal that I'm talking about, the heavy metal, doesn't seem to be interesting or changing much. It's mostly all the same thing over and over again, the same riffs. If you listen to 5 different bands, you can hear them play almost the exact same riffs, same chords, and they're all singing. Yeah. I'm sorry, that just gives me a headache. I have a lot of influences across the board, really. Yes, it's one of my favorite bands. Pink Floyd is another favorite band. A lot of the krautrock, or Tangerine Dream, Kraftwerk, Amandul 2, Asherah Temple is that one. I'm thinking I'm getting it mixed up with something else. Papa Vu. But then a lot of the 60s, Mamas and the Papas, I was thinking of Papa Vu. Jefferson Airplane. I'm starting to appreciate Jefferson Starship a little more than I used to, but I really liked the Airplane. It was good. Donovan Leitch, the Beatles, of course, Rolling Stones, King Crimson. I don't know. It's a lot of it's from '60s rock, and some of that kind of heavy rock from back then, but not so much the more modern thrash and heavy metal. I don't like it when it starts to get just screaming in the microphone and really fast chord progressions, all sounding real dark and menacing, and oh, I'm gonna tear out your heart, and blah, blah, blah. That to me, I don't get it, and maybe that's just the way that's meant to be. That certain styles of music came along almost as a rebellion, meaning to let that other generation not get it. Punk rock was kind of that way, and that way for me, a lot of that I didn't really get and understand until much later. I now like a lot of punk rock, rap. Don't particularly like very much rap, but some of it I do like, and some of it that I don't like, I can understand it. It has that sort of sensibility of, it's not your music, you're not supposed to like it. Uh, and heavy metal. I like some heavy metal, but a lot of it I don't like. A lot of it is very repetitious and doesn't give anything new. It doesn't open your eye, your consciousness. It doesn't make you wonder about something. It doesn't create some uplifting feeling or some wish for you to go and research something because, oh, it talked about such and such. Well, who was that person or something? And occasionally they do, but a lot of it they don't. I mean, occasionally they'll mention people like William Blake or Edgar Allan Poe or H.P. Lovecraft or some of the horror writers or gothic writers or whatnot. Even some that are just poetry and whatnot. They'll paraphrase some poems and stuff. And I like that, but most of them don't do that. Most of them just say, how much I hate you, I'm going to cut out your heart, blah, 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 blah. And I don't like that. I just think that's just a waste of time and gives me a headache. So that, I hope, has helped give you a little bit more about influences. I need probably to sit down and write some of it up, but if you go to my channel, I think you have looked at it, there's a list. I like to make lists, and it's not complete. I mean, I don't know if any list could be, but there are lists of music I like, there are lists of movies and books and stuff I like, so you can probably get a little better impression of what I'm about and what I like by going to some of those, going to my channel and reading some of that, and certainly keep watching my videos. I think some of the videos will bring that out. Some of it you'll see it, you'll understand it, and you seem to have watched several and have a bit of an understanding about what I'm doing, so I appreciate that, and hope that you will continue to watch, and I'll certainly continue to keep making them as long as I can. This is getting a little long, so I'm going to wrap it up. One of the last things you were asking about is, do I believe in God? Well, that's a real good question. I think I've addressed it a time or two with a video or so. I believe in the idea of love, and I believe in the idea of miracles, and I believe in the idea of some sort of spirituality. But beyond that, it's difficult to pinpoint it down to a particular God or a particular religion and to say that I'm a member of this group or that group. I kind of don't like that. I kind of think that, well, that's okay for people who want to do that. Please feel like you should do that if you have an inclination to be a Baptist and to go to a Baptist church and develop fellowship with fellow Baptists that go to that church. I think that's a great thing to do, and I grew up that way, and that's kind of how I understand it. We were torn between Baptists and Presbyterians, so that's kind of my church-going, early religious exposure was to those two religions and churches in a Southern Virginia kind of mode. By that I just mean it's a little bit different than if you go deeper south and you get into some of your Southern Baptist churches. I don't really understand that experience as much. I wasn't exposed to that as much. And it may have changed some. I haven't been back as much lately. What I do see happening, I think it's a real failure, is where a lot of people are using religion to influence other people and to try to sway them politically to do certain things. They're using their religious power over people to sway them to vote a certain way or to support certain people or a certain set of ideals that have nothing to do with God. Has nothing to do with religion, has nothing to do with spirituality, and has nothing to do with whether you're going to go to hell or not. Because, by the way, some of these guys are saying stuff that if you follow it, you're going to go to hell. If there is a hell, you're going to go there if you keep following them. And I don't know how to tell you that. And you may not be going there personally. I'm not speaking out against you or your beliefs or anyone in particular, but I do know that some of these people out there that are saying they come in the name of God are not coming in the name of God. And you can read that in the Bible too. It says so. So they're there. Beware. Look for the real message, if there is a message, if there is a truth. And because I also have a fairly strong belief in the sciences and what I can see and hear and feel, what I can read and learn about, what can be reproduced experimentally, because I have a strong background in that and logic and critical thinking, I look at a lot of religions and a lot of people who are spouting the religious information very closely, very critically. When they mess up, and most of them do, you can say that that's just the human in them. But when it's in the name of hundreds or thousands of people being killed or being displaced, refugees, made refugees, their homes bombed out, billions of dollars wasted in war efforts for no good reason, for no good godly reason. And God will tell you, thou shalt not kill. That's one of his big commandments. And don't hold anybody else in front of me, So if you're following that, if you're believing in that, then you can't be voting for these politicians that are shouting that we got to go to war, or these people that are going to places of worship and blowing themselves up to kill everybody. So you can look at both sides of that and say, well, somewhere somebody's getting a wrong message, because that's not God's message. God's message, if there is a God, is one of love and forgiveness and tolerance. And the people that don't want to tolerate anyone and don't want to forgive anyone and want to go to war and kill lots of people and take the oil or their money or whatever they're taking from think that they're so afraid. See, they're not really believing in God if they're letting that fear run their lives. If they let that fear run their lives, then God's not running their lives. So you see that too. If they're so afraid that these people are going to terrorize them and attack them, that they go over there and terrorize the people that are suspected of being the terrorists, but with no proof, that's misguided. That's not God leading those people. And if you support that, you're not supporting God, no matter how many times you say you are. And that's what I believe. I know that doesn't sit well with some people, because I won't come right out and say that I believe in God or a certain God or a specific religion, but I do believe in the Spirit and that there are powers that be and that there's things that can happen to you that are like miracles. And either, God or somebody's doing that and manipulating that and handling that, and that's all well and good if it's someone who's doing it with a certain goodness in mind. But it's not very well and good if it's somebody that's doing it with maliciousness in mind. And if you want to take it to a real extreme, what if there are aliens here? Or what if there is a devil on the earth? Or the Antichrist? Or the world destroyer, as some religions call certain kinds of gods that come about now and then, at least in part of their religion they believe, and that they will destroy and eat the world, I'm not sure I want to vote for that candidate. Trying to think about what are they doing that's godly, or are you going to follow that God? I mean, there's a lot of people who follow Satan or say they do, but I suspect at the end of the day, Satan isn't going to have a whole lot of room for them. Pretty much, you're out on your own or worse. If there is a Satan, or if there is a God, or if there is Antichrist, or Christ, or whatever. And you can feel sorry for survivors of one or another persecution and whatnot. But when they turn the tables and start persecuting other people, you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, now you're the people who were persecuted, now you're going around persecuting other people. And I mean that a bit various religions. That happens often with a lot of different religions, that they turn the tables like that. And you got to say, well, if it was bad for them, it's bad for you to do that too. And that's the truth. So, if you believe in God and what that means. Don't believe in the people that are trying to tell you what it means, just like I just now told you. In other words, find it for yourself. Find the answers for yourself and go with it, if that's what the answer seems to say to you, what it means, what truth is. The worst thing is to commit yourself to something and realize either later or even while you're committing yourself to it, know that it isn't what it says it is. Know that you're committing yourself not to believing in God, but believing in what this guy is telling me God is supposed to be, or telling me what I want to hear is going to be. And, later on finding out, well, that was a whole wasted bunch of nothing. So believe in something that is positive for you in your life. Believe in something that can help you cope with the problems in your life. And if it's not helping, then maybe you need to find additional help or other help, or look around, ask for help. I don't know. Having a fellowship in a regular church is a great thing, and I condone and encourage anyone who wants to do that. Just, try to keep yourself sane at the same time. Don't just follow blindly and believe everything is being shouted down at you, because, by the way, when they shout down at you, a lot of times it's because they know you aren't going to believe them anyway. And if you don't believe them, they don't have any power. Poof, they go away. Because they're not real. That's about all I can say today. Thanks for asking all the questions, icemichaelbaker. I'll try to put a link down in the video so that everyone can go to your channel and check it out. But leave some videos up there, buddy. What happened to all your videos? I know you had a bunch. Maybe you've got another channel. Is this a new channel? Looks like the most recent one was put up November. Oh, wow, that's an old one. 21st, 2010. No, I got the reply video just today, which it may have been there a couple of days, but I think the date on it may have been November 10, 2011. So. But I don't see it here, so maybe it's a private video. Are you doing most of your videos privately now? I can understand if you are. I'd do the shout out for more people to find you if you wanted that. Maybe you don't want that, so that's up to you. But thanks for the questions, thanks for the interest, and thanks for the comments and the encouragement. I think that you're a nice person, and I wish you only the best. Peace.